This is a revision of direct speech punctuation, and my cat is sat next to me and she's purring, so if you can hear some weird noise in the background, that's what it is. So the first rule to remember is that you need inverted commas around all of the speech. So, hey there is speech, so we need inverted commas at the beginning and end of that. I know some of you like to call it 66 and 99. Hi Sam is also speech, so we need inverted commas around that. How are you? We need speech as a speech, so we need inverted commas around that. And I'm okay, thanks. Okay, so inverted commas around all of the pieces of speech. The next rule is we need capital letters at the beginning of all of our parts of the speech, which we've got, so we're okay there. The next rule is we need to punctuate all of our speech, even if the speech is not the end of the sentence. So we've got an exclamation mark here, so we're okay for that piece of speech. But for hi Sam, we don't have anything there. So we can choose here. We could either have an exclamation mark, make it like hi Sam, or just be like hi Sam. So we could put a comma there. Hi Sam, replied Leah, how are you? And we've got punctuation at the end of how are you because it's a question mark. It's a question mark, so that's already there, so that's fine. And then I'm okay, thanks. Again, that's part of the sentence, and we've got smiled Sam at the end afterwards, so a comma will be fine there. And probably need a comma there. I'm okay, thanks. Smiled Sam, need a full stop there. So we also need a full stop after Leah. So one of the other rules is that if you're writing speech, you need to have a way of, if you're writing the reporting clause at the beginning of the sentence, before the speech, you've got to introduce the speech with some punctuation. So I'll just show you what I mean. So if Leah was going to say, we've got Leah asked, so she could ask him, do you want to come to the cinema? So Leah asked, would you like to come to the cinema? So we've got our inverted commas at the beginning of the sentence. We've got our question mark at the end. We've started with a capital letter. Now, because we've got our reporting clause, Leah asked, at the start of the sentence before the speech, we've got to make sure that we put a comma before the speech. So we're introducing the speech with a reporting clause. We must have a comma beforehand. The next rule is we need to make sure that we've got a new line for whenever we change the speaker. This helps our reader to identify who's speaking, because if you've got a long conversation, you're not necessarily going to put a reporting clause after every piece of speech, but you can show that it's somebody else speaking by changing the line. So this first line, we've got Sam speaking, then Leah speaks, so we change onto a different line. Sam speaks, so it's a different line, and then Leah speaks, so it's a new line. So then the other thing is, and this is what confuses a lot of people, is if you've got a sentence like this one, hi Sam, replied Leah, how are you? And we actually had a conversation about this in class the other day, if you remember. And we were saying, how do you know whether this needs to be a comma and whether this needs to be a capital letter or not? And if you remember, while we were in class, I was saying that it depends whether these two parts of the speech are in the same sentence or two different sentences. So what you've got to do is think about, if you were going to write it as one whole thing, perhaps inside a speech bubble, would you put a full stop in between the two sections that you've broken up with the reporting clause? So in this example, hi Sam, replied Leah, how are you? If you were writing that in a speech bubble, you'd probably put hi Sam, exclamation mark, or hi Sam, full stop, how are you? So in this example, you do put a full stop here and you start the next bit with a capital letter. So at this example, I've tried to show you what it would look like where you don't put a full stop in between. So in this example, it says, I would, Sam started to say, but I've got to finish my homework. So if you imagine that in a speech bubble, it would be, I would, but I've got to finish my homework, and it would be all one sentence. We've broken it up a little bit by adding in a reporting clause, Sam started to say. So in this example, I put a comma at the end of the first bit of speech, a comma for the next part of the speech, and then I start with a lowercase letter. And that's because if it was in a speech bubble, it would be all one sentence. Does that make sense? There aren't any kind of really strict rules about it, and you'll see different things in different books. But that's generally accepted that that's the way you do it. So I thought it'd be useful just to look at this question. Rewrite the sentence below as direct speech. Remember to punctuate your sentence correctly. So the sentence you're given, I asked her if she needed any help. That's indirect speech or reported speech because it's telling the reader about what was said rather than putting it word for word what was said. So in this example, if you wanted to put this sentence in direct speech, you would put something like, I asked, do you need any help? And that is an example of a question. So we need a question mark and we close it with speech marks or inverted commas. And then on one of the other sheets, you're asked to independently write some speech. So I picked the girl at the piano because obviously she's on her own. So who could she be talking to? She could be talking to herself. And quite often in books, when characters are speaking to themselves, authors use the conventions of direct speech. So let's have a little look at what we could put. So she could be thinking to herself, I need to keep practicing because I've got a big performance tomorrow. So what would that look like? So she could say, I must keep practicing, Emily said to herself. So we've got a comma at the end because we've got our reporting clause afterwards. We've got inverted commas at the beginning and at the end of the speech. And we started with a capital letter. And then I thought I've added a little bit more speech in. So I've got a big performance tomorrow. Inverted commas, full stop, because that's the end of the sentence. Now, I know I've started a new line here, but I didn't need to. The only reason I did that was because I'd run out of space. So grammatically, it would have been correct to start my sentence on this line because it's still Emily speaking. Okay, so that's your recap of direct speech. But as always, if you're stuck on anything or you're not sure, please email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.